Good morning. Well, we got what we thought we would yesterday, which was a go nowhere day or consolidation day. One second. Screen two. Okay. There we go. So, while it created a relatively boring day, the idea behind a consolidation day after a wide range bar day is it builds a consolidation base you can see intraday to move higher. We'll see if that happens today. And new all-time highs. That's what it should do. We'll see what's going to drive it. Has to be more buying. We'll find out shortly if traders are ready to do that and can take out these highs. Second. Got to say hello to our friends on social media. Good morning. All right, so this morning, nothing much of anything's happening here. Not in the equity futures anyway. And inside day so far, we're going to see if it can break out of here. The NASDAQ futures are down a little bit, but overall, just nothing happening, as you can see on the 65-minute chart. It's just moving sideways. Pivot highs and pivot lows close to each other. That's building a relatively tight base. And yeah, we're just going to have to see which way it's going. Last week, we had negation of a red bar. A second. Back. And that was a relatively large one. And so it reversed it and bullish 180 suggests it's going to go higher. And I would assume until proven otherwise, whatever short-term dips are happening, they're going to get bought. And whether they come down to the next level or holders want to go up, we'll have to see together as it shapes up. The Dow made new all-time highs yesterday. And prices pushed up. And these are the futures they backed off. And even on these, on a closing basis, they closed above those highs. So Dow made a new all-time high. More party hats and cheers. Another market reached new all-time highs. Joining the others. The high is up there. We'll see how much selling comes in or not. But the Dow was what moved yesterday before things began to go quiet. It was a relatively quiet day. Now, the Russell, had this vicious move to the downside in intraday anyway, looking at a small time frame, like a 5 minute or so. And then it came down to the support level and it just ripped right back up to the upside there, and then a slow descent going nowhere. So it's down a little bit. Overall, we covered this pre-market yesterday, how many patterns are just this erratic, wider ranges, overlapping bars, in essence, going nowhere. And if we put a horizontal line across here, and just pick a spot there from September, essentially, markets haven't moved too much. We can say, hey, the Dow hit on all-time highs. What a great thing. And the Russell hit new all-time highs before. And overall, the market is just running in place in wild whips to the upside and downside. And we'll see what today brings. Yeah. I think we looked at ES already. Yeah, we did first thing. This number is wrong. I don't know why. This morning. Crude oil bouncing a little bit. Oh, it came down quite a bit. Short-term extended. 3 little bottoming tail bars. Yesterday was a back and forth, but little counter trend trade. Rounding bottom on the 65-minute. Now it's at resistance. If you trade crude oil. see if it goes sideways here before maybe it can go up again to the next level before sellers rematerialize. And gold continued its pullback, that big wide range bar. Now it's coming down to support where buyers will start to materialize. And you can see down here, somewhere in that, probably that 4,000 level. Look at a whole number, give or take, somewhere in here. They already stepped up once, and so the 20 MA is lined up with that, and you got a whole number. This is where we should see in the rest of the week it start to make a turn down here, and after a wide range bar like that, it's never going back up there in the short term. But if it can spend a couple of days down here, I wouldn't bet against that. So support, buyers starting to materialize. Give it some time. Well, silver, this came down, major support, similarly, beginning to build a little base. And yeah, look, how many times can I say it? Let me add it. Another 1,000 time. Looking to the left. And yet everybody will have their Elliott waves and Fibonacci's and whatever else they're looking at to figure that out. Bitcoin down. That didn't get very far. What's a good thing about that? Well, I'm not sure it's good yet, but it's the beginnings of what we look for with a W bottom. W bottoms are preceded by a momentum move and then a shallow retracement. That's a shallow retracement. Now, if it had come all the way back up here, you could do some type of a retest, but the thinking behind that, with all patterns that we look at, is based on the psychology behind the pattern. So the momentum move clearly is sellers taking control in a very big way, and they aggressively come in again. And that aggressive selling would suggest it's coming down, on the weekly chart down here, or maybe even lower. So if it comes here and immediately begins to reverse, that kind of throws a monkey in the wrench of the sellers being so aggressive by coming in very early instead of up in this area. But we'll see what happens. Right now, it's clearly weak, and we got a little downside shakeout pattern in the moment on the 65-minute chart. And what we would look for here, and we discussed this in the room yesterday about shakeouts versus head and shoulders, and get this drawing tool, is that this is white. We don't want white. We want something else like purple. Okay. So this side is flat. It spikes down. It's violent. That's why I call it a shakeout. And the right side is flat. And the thinking behind that pattern is that buyers are willing to step in at a resistance area, supply, and it doesn't get knocked back down again. And the difference between that and our discussion of head and shoulders is that a head and shoulders is a little bit less violent, shall we say, making shoulders and rounding, and it dips down where this doesn't dip down. In essence, it's stronger. It's like if this was in an uptrend, it'd be even better. But it's as if, I don't know the right terminology, a mistake, but we call it a shakeout. But it's a violent move to the downside that immediately comes back up again. And it was preceded by a move lower, which opens up the door to moving up. So if this was to play out today, by the end of the day, somewhere in the end of the day, we would be looking at maybe a bottoming tail bar, whether it got all the way back up or not. But this pattern is going to open up the door to at least a short-term move to the upside if it can complete the other side of the pattern. Yet to be seen. Yeah. Okay, so it's still early. Right. Same story, sideways consolidation with the overnight trading there, nothing happening. We look at, just yesterday, just sideways. It was a really boring day, and the previous day was sideways. So we've got a pretty solid consolidation going on here as we look at the overnight trading, which supports a bias that if it clears here, and go back up and potentially make new all-time highs. So that's got a consolidation. And I don't know if I have here on a 5 minute. That's yesterday. That was weird yesterday. I think this was another Trump comment. You know, this was inching up and then downdraft. But I don't have these on 24 hours in any event. Um, a lot of mornings have been a little bit of a fake out pattern and then initially goes higher. So one of the things to possibly look for this morning would be on a 5 minute chart to see if it initially whips down and rips right back up again. And that would be, a little long setup there. So, and just look at the cues, and then I got SPX set up already. So this is the same nice little consolidation there. It's going nowhere. Look for the cues to make new all-time highs today. Above here, there's nothing to stop it. And it's got to get through that resistance. And if it does, it should make new all-time highs. Just here. And this is the weaker, but most days, we and I don't think this is going to do much today. And the reason I don't is because the Dow led, and this started in the morning, and then the Dow just went flat. But for whatever reason, these have lately moved together. And since the Dow has already moved up that much, I don't think that's going to be the one to look for to continue higher. So I think the Qs and the spiders, that could be their day to participate versus, um, the Dow being the leader yesterday. All right, so consolidation. Why is this? Where are my numbers? Hmm. Oh, there they are. I forgot it was up there. They both moved up 10 handles from where they were yesterday. And, yesterday was just a go nowhere day. Um, so can it get up there today? Well, based on this pattern and yesterday's consolidation, it's possible. So let's start with, can it take out these highs? And if it does, well, attempt to go up there. Is it going to go down here today? It better not. And the only reason it would go down there today, some uneventful situation, news that comes out. So um, the downside should be the no-brainer. And so while this is the extreme, you've got this prior day, you got yesterday's low, you got the prior day's low, you got an unfilled gap, you got a 20 MA, you got so many lines of defense before it gets down there to where even going above this level to find premium would make sense. You have it. First thing, price versus time correction in lower time frames. Sure. Well, you can take over, Dan. By definition, a time correction is bullish, especially if it's at resistance. Sometimes I use the terminology absorbing supply because there's supply there and there's demand there, and the demand absorbs the supply, and rather than going down in price, it goes sideways.
Good morning. Did you tell them about MTY? Alex was just telling me about Paul. I mean, a lot of these mineral stocks are coming in hard, and I was pounding the table on those for applying those at the time. the entire sector. NP, look at that. That's a nasty retracement. BE, nine. They'll turn. They're in uptrends, but not yet. IONQ, QBAT, this sector, yep, it's getting beat up. Quantum computing. Wow, wouldn't have predicted that nasty retracement. Alarms, like always. Microsoft, gapping over these two bars. That's bullish for directional and put spread. Oscar November, I had a low alarm go off here. Let's see what our stop is. It sold a third. Oscar November 53.41. Okay, so it is gapping under the stop. Let me change that to 5-minute low now. And I also said if Neo was gapping under the stop, it was illiquid, I couldn't tell. But if Neo is, then also same thing. This one is Oscar November. Down. Coin down with Bitcoin. We have a put spread. I said move stop 30-minute low. And Neo, like there's no print. My alarm went off, but I don't see any prints. We're in trail mode on that. Other new trades, DCI did not trigger yesterday because I said into the close I wanted it to be over 83.90, which is kind of an arbitrary retracement number I came up with, but I still like it. Over 84 and change. That's a third topping tail, closing breakout. Looks good. CMG, I gave a put spread, kind of a bull rectangle here. Here's your flagpole. There's your rectangle. If we can get above the closing price, that'd be good enough for me. Etsy, it's not a bull rectangle just because you don't have a good flagpole. That's just consolidation and an uptrend. That's a put spread idea. And that's it on alarms. Let's go to earnings. When I saw Netflix and Texan come out yesterday, both got whacked. I immediately went to the Qs and spiders to see how much they were down, and I was shocked that they were only down like a dime or something ridiculously small. Unless I didn't have an explanation. I thought maybe they'd be down at least $1. So Texan here, that's a nasty gap. Nasty. Mattel, gapping right in the middle of the range. So those are condors. Let it trade for a little bit to make sure it doesn't rip or tank. But condor idea after 10 a.m. Netflix here, gapping to bottom of the range. So I have this as a put spread watch, 30-minute high or any other type of bullish entry on the 15. Look at this friggin' gap on ISRG. Wow. That ISRG, it's typically spready, but done. This would be a beautiful gap and crap call spread. But I just am 98% sure it's going to be too spready, but even for a day trade, let's keep an eye on that. SRG. Oh, Duncan, I posted a put spread also, 30-minute high. Did I put it in? Oh, I forgot to put it in the spreadsheet. Give me a second. Here, I'll just give it to you now since I'm here. All right, so we got 4 new ideas in the credit spread department. But this is a W bottom, and now, when we trade double bottoms, we need a turn. And this turn is occurring on the gap up, provided the turn holds. So how do you define the turn holding? Well, I don't know. I need a closing bar, right? I need a closing bar. But the gap, if it can take out a 30-minute high, then I'm defining that as my turn to go ahead and do the put spread. All right, back to earnings cost. Sam, I think you did the 190s or something like that. Nice job. Well, that's a crazy bullish turn, but now nothing to do. And I went through and deleted some of these, so if I'm not covering it. This one, I was considering selling the put spread, but there wasn't enough juice. Had this open right here at 271, 272, it would have been a fantastic, like 30-minute high. But as you can see, it's rocking more here pre-market, so you're not going to get any juice. Matador gap into here could be a 30-minute low, short. Pega 63. Let's see that. I mean, that is not a gap and crap candidate because this was a wide range bar coming out of a base, but it's still a possible excessive gap, 30-minute low. But that the ISRG is better, and then look at this one is better too. $66 now, gap into 80. That's another gap and crap candidate done for us. Call spread and start off day trade short. Let's see if they have weeklies, and they do not. So that screws up our call spread. But you could, they still work just because you'll get the vol contraction, even though they're 30 days out. But I will have to check what the spreads are. This is a beautiful bottoming pattern, gap into 175. This looks great. This looks great as a bottoming pattern. Now let's get rid of Texan. So, 5, 10, 15-minute high. I don't know. I'll tell you when I see it. But look, wide range bar, bullish new low divergence, negated the WRB, closing above the 20. And you got a big void up there. So this could be, let's say 10-minute high, put spread, 30-minute high directional, just to come up with a rough plan. Nah, there's no weeklies again. Shoot. I wish this freaking market makers, why does everything not have weeklies? I guess the answer would be liquidity. That's a bullish gap at no pattern. Gapping over a red bar. Now, if it did not have this red bar, then it would be a better gap and crap day trade candidate. But gapping over a red bar is actually bullish, even though it's getting further away from the 20. This regional bank, yesterday's low, sell setup. You could set an alarm at 98. See if it gives up this little gap here on the 98. Crap. Another W bottom. real estate, put spread, directional, 30-minute high. Pref, PMT. It's a bullish gap, but no pattern, excessive. Man, F 186. It's a nasty gap, but we'll see where buyers want to step up. This one is a mess. Tomo 572. It's a big old bullish gap. I mean, this is power. This is a textbook bull flag right here. Flagpole, counter trend, 35-degree channel. That is a bull flag. AT&T. I had set an alarm at 2660, but wow, that's no pattern now. It's getting ugly. This 135, it's an excessive gap. I think I even said yesterday when we were looking at these, if this were to gap over this red bar, it'd be a nice red bar ignored breakout. Problem is the gap is excessive. CME, bearish gap. This thing's trading chaotically. We'll come back. VRT, bullish. Happened to 182, maybe 30-minute high. We'll come back. WAB, I don't see the trends. TDY, bearish gap, no pattern. M Northern Trust. Looks like it's selling off a little bit here pre-market. It's a sloppy buy, a sloppy sell setup. LII, I'm almost done here. Another bottoming pattern. Put spread idea. If there's weeklies. ABY 167. Gap's too big to get any premium, but that's another bottoming pattern. Well, look at the weekly. Weekly has room to 170, but the gap's just too big for me. Taylor Morris, 65. Put spread on a pullback. Housing stock. TNL, 62. Put spread. Not crazy about it as a directional, just with all the overlapping bars, but put spread. And perfect timing. USB opening flat. Put spread, if any juice. Maho. Gapping down 135, no pattern. All right, those are all the earnings. So perfect timing on that. Flex tape, Alex mentioned yesterday. That's a little bull consolidation, whether it's a rectangle or whatever. I don't care what you call it. That flex tape looks good. Microsoft put spread if you can get filled on the pullback. MGA. Alex, we talked about this 15-minute. I like it day trade, yesterday's high. LSID under these lows as a short idea. DCI we talked about. Yeah, these which we need to. Don, I know you like all these quantum computings. Qualcomm, nothing. Look at this Beyond Meat, man. I mentioned that I was kidding Greg saying, "Oh, did you invest in the company on this gap up?" What a crazy move. And they one of these brokerage houses started this meme ETF, Roundhill, and then I what's the stock I said? Flowers. Look at this thing going. And I was serious when I said, did Roundhill at wow, we're starting off ugly. How about the IWM? I was serious when I asked you, did meme Roundhill add this to their thing? Because this is kind of looking like a stupid Beyond stock. Alex, remember this donut we were watching? I forget exactly. Oh, I forget where, but I look at it yesterday on volume. Wow, that's today's volume. 45 million shares today. What is going on with Krispy Kreme? Really? Incredible. That is the absolute new toy right now, you all. And this, like I just said, has the footprint. That has the footprint of the meme. So it's instead of the Reddit, wow, we're really selling Ultra. Um, all right, so look at Netflix doing, let me check puts for it just so I can get ready. We were talking yesterday in the green room a lot about um, tail risk and selling way out of the money puts. And I said divide it by 10 just to put the premium into perspective. So the 1100s now are $6. And we were also talking, one of you asked about the thousands, right? Okay, so the thousands, you made money because you would have sold them at 48 cents and you can close them at 15 cents. But the 1100s are in pain because the closing price was, I don't know, 350, something like that. And now they're $5. But we're pattern traders, and I'm not touching that thing until I get, some more. Wow, look at these 5 and 15 minute bars. On the daily, it's nothing, but on the 5 minute, it's big. Spiders, but we're at resistance. So, and I've been talking about the hourly charts. Actually, the Qs and spiders hourly are M tops. I'm glancing at my other computer, of course, but there, look here, I'll show you right here. Look at that. That's an M top on the hourly. And same with spiders. Not as clear. That's more of just kind of a breakdown, but yeah, the Qs are an M top on the hourly. All right. I got a bib up alarm. Nice. Bib. Put this back to 15. We bought this yesterday as a buy setup. So let me set new up alarms. Apple at the low, Amazon at the low, Netflix at the low. Microsoft is the best playing right now, and that's the one we get a put spread on. These alarms, MGA. Alex, there's your MGA alarm. Early alarm. Etsy alarm. Let's hold off Etsy and wait for 30-minute high just because of the market falling. DCI up alarm. DCI half lots triggering. That hey, that done ISRG. I mentioned I just saw that it's going sideways. 343. I don't know, Neil. It's possible. I'm surprised it hasn't been halted the last couple of days. They got a percent rule, which on cheaper stocks gets triggered easier. Look at this gap and crap. There's no weeklies, but I'd be all over this. I'd be all over this for a, oh no, there is two DT. I'm mixing it up with the other one. All right, let me check the spreads. Yeah, dollar by dollar 70. So the 580s, but then you let me try 580, 585 is only 30 cents. Um, so that's the problem. The spreads and trying to get a good credit. But I'll post it in the room and let in the Telegram and let them. ACHC. Ah, this thing finally stopping out. That was such a nice pattern on that buy setup and 1, 2, 3 reversal. And so didn't work. Did nothing wrong. EKT. All right, so I'll set a new alarm on that. Hmm. Flex tape. Flex tape looks great. I think we can do 30-minute high on flex tape. What's this WCN doing? Man, that was my bottoming pattern watch, but I don't I don't like that opening range bar. All right, flex tape. Earnings 1029. That's for November. Um, okay, I said 5-minute low at the gap under the stop. GSK. Yeah, over yesterday's high. Thomas, red bar ignored. I remember we had that as a long watch like 2 weeks ago. And I just got, this red bar right here. I was watching it right there. And then on this green bar and I canceled it. I'll set an alarm 44:30. Bad. Neo. Stop 1028. Nice game. Yeah, let's keep an eye on Netflix. Um,